it. For those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop your comments down below. All engagement helps us grow the pod, so we greatly appreciate it. And for those of you listening on Spotify, Apple, or any of the other audio-only platforms, please follow, give us a 5-star review. All of that stuff helps us on those platforms as well. So let's move on to the transfer rumours real quick. We'll start with Arsenal. You guys been linked with Cunha. You've been linked with Sesko. You've obviously also had the bombers from Ornstein and Romano about Zubimendi. So we haven't really spoken about it. Real quick, Johns, what do you rate the scale of 1 to 10 of likelihood of signing any of those three players? I know the Zubimendi one's for the summer still, but give me a 1 to 10 on those three players. Do you think they'll be coming to the carpet?
That's the question I was hoping you would not ask me, because that's the part I really don't know. I think most likely, going from most likely to least likely, I think coming in January, not talking about the summer, to come in January, most likely to least likely, I would say Cunha's top. I think he's probably most likely to come to us because he's also making a bit of a stink now. I think apparently it's come out that he agreed personal terms with Arsenal and Wolves, but he's now refusing to sign his Wolves contract because of the Arsenal interest. I think that may end up playing its way into Wolves accepting some sort of bid for him that is maybe a little bit less than they want, just to get him out, because he's kind of showing that he can maybe be a bit of a diva, and he will kind of kick up a fuss if they don't let him go. And so I can see him coming in. Sesko, I don't know. I feel like I saw some stuff about like release clauses and how we're going to have to pay more than his release clause now if we want to get him.
I read that he doesn't have a release clause now.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that was it. So we're going to have to end up paying, I think it was 13 million more for him now than we would have had to pay for him if we just bought him out before. So that to me strikes me as a not going to happen type of move, because I still don't think we're that stupid sometimes. Maybe I'm wrong, but January times tend to be Arsenal bargains, right? Like a Trossard type of move where we did get a bit of a bargain on him. He wasn't a big outlay. I don't see us going after Sesko, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I do think that that's possible maybe in the summer. And then least likely I'm putting Zubimendi. I don't think he's coming now.
That's not happening.
It seems like if it's going to happen, it will happen in the summer, or it won't happen at all. I really do hope it does happen, just for the spite of Liverpool. And he's pretty good, and I wouldn't mind him being like a party replacement. So I'm actually okay with that. But it's likely to happen in the summer. If I'm going to be honest with you now and say who do I want now, I'd rather have Sesko than Cunha. I like Cunha. I think, I was reading this newsletter called Transfer Flow, where they kind of go through a lot of different things about, what's hot at the time. And he's good at a lot of things, but he's not great at anything. And he's also got a lot of shots, and his patterns of play and the places that he takes shots from are not that of an elite striker. He takes them from really weird places where most of the time variance... Yeah, Cunha, sorry. He's going to take a lot of shots from places that he probably shouldn't take. And this season, they've been coming off for him, right? He's got 10 goals or whatever already in the league. This season, they've been coming off for him. But I will remember that, before my jinx, he was stinking it up, right? He was taking shots from stupid places and he was missing them. So unless my jinx lasts forever, I think he will come to Arsenal and still do a lot of the things that he probably shouldn't do in a type of Gabriel Jesus type of way, right? He just makes silly-ish decisions. He's good enough for them to come off sometimes. Exactly. He's good enough for them to come off sometimes, and he can also play decently well at any of the front positions that we need him to play in. But he is not the answer to what I want, which is a clinical baller. I don't need a player that can play in every position. I need a guy that can play one position really, really well, and that position is striker or centre forward. I don't need a left winger, in my opinion. I don't need a right winger. Those are different problems that we can solve with a different player. I need an absolute gunman up front who can play that position and be more clinical than Kai Havertz, right? And get us from scoring 41 goals in the season to scoring 50. Because damn sure, if we had a good striker, we would have scored the same amount of goals as Liverpool, because we've probably created the same amount of chances as they have, or close to, right? So that's what I need. Sesko seems to be, out of all of the people I've just mentioned, the closest to that. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to politely decline on Cunha unless it's an absolute steal. Because I do think we do need a solution for a right wing and left wing in the long term. I think we do need,
it won't be a steal,
a versatile player. But unless it's a steal, I don't want him. And I agree with you. It probably is unlikely to be a steal. So don't get him from my point of view.
So,
And I'd rather you go and get him in the summer if we've already sorted out a striker and we've got the finances for it. But in terms of order, it needs to be centre forward, it needs to be centre mid or DM, and then it needs to be cover for Saka and Martinelli. In my opinion.
Yeah. Interesting. I actually agree with that, I don't think a lot of Arsenal fans have been saying that, though. I think they think centre forward number one for sure. They agree on that. But I think they also think that you need a replacement for the left wing position as a higher priority to Zubimendi or another midfielder. I would agree with you, though. That midfield at times can be stiff. And you need someone who can pick up the ball from the back four and bring it forward and give it to the front thirds to go and create chances. And as much as Chargie's still there, he might not be there for much longer.
And isn't Jorginho's contract running out as well? We're going to lose at least one of them, if not both of them.
I think you lose both. I think you lose both. Yeah, and
we've got Marino as cover. Not good enough.
And I think Zubimendi's a younger Jorginho. I'll be real. When Jorginho was in his prime, he was getting the same kind of hype as Zubimendi, and when he still had a bit of legs, and when he was still able to do what what his bread and butter is. He's lost his legs. He's still got use, but it's not going to be the same level. And you get Zubimendi in, perfect, I think. He's got rapport with Marino already, so you might get better out of Marino too. And I feel like he'll come in and do a really good job. And I think that will actually help you create more chances than you are right now. Because I agree, you do create chances, but you can create more. I don't think you create the same level as Liverpool, which is the only reason why I think you might not score the same amount of goals. But if you had a clinical striker, that's something Liverpool don't have. They've got Salah, sure, he scores a lot of goals, and the others are kind of spread a bit, right? And if you had a clinical striker, maybe that would make up for creating slightly less chances. But if you had a Zubimendi, I think you would create similar to Liverpool, if not more. I'll be real. And I agree. Cunha, I like him a lot, man, but I actually think he would suit a system like ours better. And they play like that at Wolves, right? He plays like kind of as a drifting 10. And I feel like that if he gets the numbers he gets right now as a drifting 10, you'll be happy. But if you put him as striker and he gets those numbers, you won't be happy.
That's the thing. He doesn't play high up and off the pitch. If you look at before,
he's not clinical, mate.
It was Hwang getting on the end of all of his crosses, putting them in. He was the clinical bagsman. And this season, it's not like Cunha's been playing higher up the pitch. He hasn't. What he has been doing, though, is just smashing balls in from 30 yards out somehow and getting them to go in, which is not going to happen all the time. And I don't need it. Yeah, exactly. Strand Larsen is the one bombing ahead. I don't need the guy that's going to play behind the striker. I've got that if I really want it in probably Kai Havertz. I need someone who's going to be on the shoulder of the defender at all times in the centre of the pitch as an absolute gunman to put balls away. Right? It's not Cunha, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's not. I agree. All right, let's go on to the United stuff real quick. So we've been linked with Inns, Patrick Dorgu from Lecce, Nene Dorgeles from Salzburg, and then the big one really is who?
Was that the Alvaro Don that you were also looking at with Dorgu as well?
Oh no! There is Fernandez or Carreras. I think used to play for us, left back from the youth for Benfica, who actually cooked in that mad Barcelona game. He got a couple of assists. There's a buyback on him, but I've got to be honest with you. People are throwing his name in there. We're going Dorgu. That's who they want. I think the Carreras is only if that Dorgu deal goes absolutely tats up, then we might go for Carreras because he's a cheaper option. He's about half the cost. But let's focus on Dorgu for that left back. And then Dorgeles is looks like being the potential Garnacho replacement if we sell him to either Napoli or Chelsea. So that's the big sticking point. We don't have loads of time left, so I'm not gonna labour the point about Garnacho. I would keep him. I understand some people that don't love him, that get frustrated by him. I get frustrated by him too. But he's only 20. He's still young. I know he doesn't fit the system perfectly right now, but the beauty of it and the comparison I make with Onana is Onana's 28, 29. Garnacho's just turned 20 recently, right? Turning 21 this year. He can learn. He can adapt. He's got the flexibility and the growth to develop under Amorim and potentially make him a better fit for one of those 10s or as one of the wing backs. Onana doesn't. So I would keep Garnacho. The obvious here is he's a sellable asset. He's from the youth. We get pure profit. It means that we can buy more players for the entire rebuild. And that's obviously the reason why Ineos are looking to potentially sell him. I wouldn't. I would flog the other players and try and make ends meet, doing, selling your Rashfords, selling your Casemiros, your Ericssons, your Lindelofs, even considering selling one of the strikers, either Højlund or Xerxes. Like, I would do all of that before I would sell Garnacho, I've got to be honest. But that's the obvious route. That's what might happen. I've seen some stuff now from Romano saying that now that Napoli have actually turned their attentions away and they're looking to get Adeyemi from Dortmund instead, which is a relief. That doesn't rule it out, though, because Chelsea are still nuts. And they may just put 60 million down and take him from us. And apparently that's his preferred option. So let's see how it shakes up, man. I personally wouldn't sell him. I do get why people are saying they're frustrated with him, but I don't think you sell him. I think you keep him. There's so many other bits of deadwood in the squad that you'd sell that would help us financially. It's just a power play to try and get more, to get our PSR books looking good by selling a youth product. But I don't think I can't rule it out, man. Chelsea did it loads in the summer, right? They sold a bunch of players that their fans didn't want them to sell for PSR reasons. So we're not above that. We could move mad and do it. So there was obviously that bit of news where they're talking about selling Garnacho or Mainu, and I lost my rag. It's possible. Let's see how it shakes. For the attackers, for the ins, sorry, Dorgu, I like it profile-wise. He's 6'2", he's a unit. I haven't watched him play loads, but it fits the physical profile, the athleticism profile that we talked about earlier. So I'm all for him. And we haven't had a left back for 18 months. So at this point, I'll take anything, right? Like, I'll take the Fernandez Carreras guy back from Benfica. He looks good too. I wouldn't have sold him. I think I was on the pod saying I wouldn't have sold him at the time. So I would happily take him back. So I'm happy with either. Dorgu looks like a better physical profile. And from what I've seen of him, he looks like he's got the intensity and the athleticism to get up and down in a wing-back role. So I'd probably lean further towards him, but he's like double the cost. So at this point, I'll take any left-back over Dalot at left-back. I'm desperation settings. And with Dorgalez, I saw a little bit of him yesterday when Real Madrid played Salzburg. He looked lively. He looked very raw, though. And he's definitely not the finished article. I wouldn't say he's a million miles off the level that Garnacho has been recently in terms of like his potential. Garnacho has obviously proved it more in the Premier League, so that would be the question mark for Dorgalez. But you know what? Bring him. All the people we've been linked with, there's been none that I've seen and gone, no, please don't get them. I think we need profile fits, athleticism fits, physical profile fits more than anything. So I would bring him in. I'm anti the Garnacho sale and pro Dorgu and Dorgalez. I don't know what you think about those, but I think I'd be happy with those ins and very unhappy with that out.
I'd actually sit on the other side for the Garnacho one. I think it's supply and demand, and not all of your players people actually want. And I think one of the ones that could actually make you money that I honestly don't think is crucial to your style or crucial to or actually, is close enough to being able to fit in your style yet. I'm going to be honest with you. Out of him or Mainu or some of these other Dons, I think he's the one least likely to fit into your style because it's a mentality thing. I personally think he's best suited to a wing back position, and I don't think he's ever going to be able to track back enough because mentality wise, unless he grows up, I don't think he's going to be willing to do that. I also think people are too attached to the fact that like he kind of fits this Ronaldo-esque type trajectory. He's already won, the Puskas Award and stuff. No, I know, but I mean, like, there's people tied to the idea of like, young, explosive winger from a Man United team, homegrown, kind of like they were with Rashford before. And I think people are maybe hanging on to it a bit too much. So from my point of view, if you can get 60 million for him, I would shift him. I personally wouldn't try and shift him to Chelsea, but I think if it comes down to it and they're the only ones in for him, and there's 60 million on the table, I think you need that money because it doesn't look like you're going to be spending money elsewhere, right? You're doing all these things to save money, but I don't think you've got a whole lot of money to spend, especially because you're probably not going to get Champions League this year, right? Or definitely not going to get Champions League this year. You're not going to have a bunch of money as much coming in, right? Yeah, unless you win the Europa. So from my point of view, he's a cash cow. Him, Rashford, sell them both. Use that money to go and get smart signings to fit the styles that you need. Keep Mainu. Because you also have to remember, he's also been the one, apparently, that has been leaking bare shit. His little brother's a bit of a... Like, these are not problems that you want to have. So
look,
from my point of view,
if I have to choose...
If
I have to choose... I think I've said this before. If I have to choose a lesser of all the evils, I would agree. I would flog Garnacho before I would flog some of our other youth prospects, right? I'm obviously not trying to flog Ahmad, and I'm not trying to flog Mainu. So if I have to choose between all of them lot, then I would flog him. But you know what? This might be a shocker. I'd sell Højlund before I'd sell Garnacho. Honestly,
True.
I would.
But you spent a bunch on him, so selling him is not that much of a net positive.
Yeah. So we're getting into the accountant stuff, right? Which us fans are being forced to go into because of all this PSR rubbish and, financial fair play and all this kind of stuff. But I hear you. I can't argue with much of that stuff. And it is true. There is an element of he's a player that people want. And a lot of our Deadwood people don't want. I think they want them, but they don't want to pay for them. So
yes.
That's it.